Good morning, children. So today we start with a new story, The Wolf Children, Part 1. Now this story is quite a long story and it is divided into two parts. It is about a priest, Reverend Singh, who hears about a couple of demons in the forest near the village where he lives, and those couple of demons turn out to be human children who are being raised by wolves, which is very surprising for the villagers, especially in 1920s. Wolves are not said to be friendly to anybody, least of all the humans. Now this story was written by Mike Samudha. Not much. It has been adapted from where not much over here has been at the end of the chapter. Not much has been written about the author or the story from or the extract from which this particular story has been adapted. But then it makes for an interesting read. I want you to turn to page 102 and whatever word meanings and all you see written over there, please make sure you write them as well. So at the beginning of the story, we see 6 men sat on a wooden hunting platform. In Hindi we call it machan also. The platform had been hastily built during the heat of the day. Why? Let us see why. Now in the gathering twilight, here it is getting darker. Twilight can be the time between the sunrise and before the sunset also. The men knew that their long wait would soon be over. So why over here it is gathering twilight, getting darker? Because generally what they are looking for, they are waiting for some animals to come out. And all nocturnal animals, they do venture out before the night gathers. Below them, some 30 meters away, stood a giant anthill. It was on this that the men's attention was focused. Here that they were looking at intently. One of the men licked his lips nervously. It is not just when you are thirsty that you lick your lips. You also lick your lips when you are nervous. The anthill, he knew, had long ago been abandoned by ants. Meaning to say there were no more, it was not habitable by ants at that point. Now it was simply a hollow shell like a cave. And what was inside the hollow shell? Inside there lived jungle demons. What are demons? An evil spirit, a devil or a ghost, or in Hindi you can even call them shaitan. Sunset was the time for the demons to appear. So it was 9 October 1920. Everyone in the Indian village of Godamuri knew about the jungle demons. So they were being talked about a lot. They heard their howls. What are howls? Long, loud cry that sounds sad, often let out by dogs and wolves. And their strange yelping cries. What are yelping cries? A sharp, shrill bark or cry. Several people had actually seen the demons. So these men, they were the ones who had not seen and who had been called there or been gathered there by Reverend Singh to make sure. He wanted to see for himself what these demons were. It seems that he was an educated man and he did not believe in the story of demons. He knew that there was something else behind the demon story. They were in appearance half human and half animal. So all the villagers who had up till that time seen the demons, they described them as half humans and half animals. The superstitious would no longer venture into the forest for fear of them. Superstitious meaning to say people who believed in supernatural like the ghosts or evil spirits. They did not venture into the forest for fear of them. Venture to go somewhere where it can be dangerous or where you do not know the territory or the area. The forest was bathed in a deep red glow from the setting sun. The first of the large fruit bats flapped past the waiting men. So before the demons came out, who went about their business looking for prey? The bats. You know that they are also nocturnal creatures. Suddenly there was a movement in the narrow entrance of the ant hill. The men on the platform stiffened. They were anticipating. Now, up till now, they had not seen the demon, so now maybe they were nervous, so they stiffened or full of anticipation. One of them drew in his breath sharply, while another tightened his grip on the stock of his rifle. So the back part, see children, this part over here, this particular part which is used for support is known as the stock of the rifle. Something was coming out of the anthill. It was a fully grown wolf. Behind it came a second wolf and then two small cubs. Then something else appeared. Emerged means to appear. It was a demon. Why do they consider it a demon? Just as the villagers had said, because it was half human and half animal. The demon, now over here the demon has been put in inverted commas. So the whole dimension of the story has changed. Now Reverend Singh, okay, up till now the story is what the villagers had seen. They were calling the creatures, half human and half animal creatures, as demons. But now Mr. Singh, the Reverend Singh, the priest, has seen, who was an educated fellow and who did not believe in the superstitions. He realized what they were. The demon was followed by a second monster, much smaller than the first. Both of the creatures had matted hair, matted, tangled and coarse. If you will not wash your hair for a few days, if you will not comb them, then they will not all be shiny and smooth. They will look matted. You must have seen the hair on the matted hair of sadhus. So you know what I am talking about. Which covered their faces. So why did the matted hair cover their faces? Because it was not being cut. They were living with these children were living with the wolves. And both walked on all fours. So this is what, see the picture, you can see clearly over there, the hair falling on the faces, and they not walking upright but walking on their hands and feet as well. They looked around cautiously before bounding. Cautiously, why? To carefully avoid danger before jumping after the wolf. So they are so familiar, though so friendly with the wolves. They are living as a friend. They are living as a family. So they carried on, followed the wolves. The 6 men reacted in different ways. 2 aimed their rifles at the strange creatures. Why? Because they were scared. 1 quickly signaled them not to shoot. Who was this one? The Reverend Singh. Then he began to write in his notebook. 1 man, too frightened to look, buried his face in his hands. The rest stayed in disbelief. So the stories were true. They had seen the monsters for themselves. So up till now, whatever stories they had heard about the monsters or the demons they themselves had seen were true. Only the Reverend Singh realized that these were not demons. The man with the notebook was the Reverend Singh. As a priest in the village of Kudamudi, he had listened to the tales and chatter about demons. Tales, stories and gossip about demons, or just talks, and had been determined to prove that the stories were nonsense, that they did not have any logic to them, or there was no sense or meaning to them. They did not make any sense or did not have any proper meaning. Even so, it had taken a good deal of persuasion to find men who would take him to the demon's lair and wait with him while he observed them for himself. See, so he was an educated fellow, but still it took him a lot of effort to persuade people. What is persuasion? To make people believe in something. And to find men. See, people were very coward and they believed, they were superstitious, they were coward, they were illiterate, and they believed in the stories of demons, and they were not willing to listen to Reverend Singh. And with very difficulty, some men got ready, maybe they were enticed with some reward. So they were ready to take Reverend Singh to the anthill where the demons live. Back at Godamuri, the Reverend Singh ignored the excited talk of his 5 companions and read through the notes he had scribbled at the time. Why had he scribbled at the time? Because whatever he had observed, he was noting it down, and he did not have time to write it down quickly and neatly. The creatures were hideous beings. Hideous why? They looked very ugly. The description is always already there, that their hair was matted, that they had no clothes, they most probably were dirty. In that fading light also, in that darkness also, they just looked like animals. And they were not purely animals, because they did not have that much of hair on their body. So they looked very hideous and strange. Now, both of them ran on all fours. What was the second observation of Reverend Singh? That both the demons, they were on their fours. They were walking on hand and foot. Of one he had put hand, foot and body like a human being, but the head was a big ball of something covering the shoulders. So maybe this particular demon had a lot of hair on its body, or the creature had a lot of hair on his hair. So nothing could be seen of the face. He was convinced, however, that the creatures were not demons. So of all the observations that Reverend Singh had made, he was sure that these were not demons. Convinced? To make someone believe in something, or to believe something for one person to believe in something. However, that the creatures were not demons. What he felt sure he had seen were 2 children about 4 or 5 years old. See? So the story takes a twist from now onwards, as Reverend Singh could make out that these were 2 children who maybe their parents had died somehow in the forest, and these children were left with the wolves. So there was, no news about the parents, no news. In the village, that some people, a family who was crossing the forest must have died. So nobody was sure, except Reverend Singh, that these 2 demons were not demons at all, but they were small children who most probably had ended up living with the wolf family. Now the rest of the story, we'll take it up later on in the next class. Till that time, if you can, then make sure you read the entire story, or you can read the story from the very beginning and make sure you write down all the meanings. Till that time, stay safe, stay blessed. Thank you.